Hey guys, it's Josh here. I just basically, at this time, with all of the crazy things going on with COVID-19 and everything, I know a lot of people are at home. Um, you may be stuck in self-quarantine, depending on where you live in the world. You may not be going to school, you might be stuck within your home, not allowed to leave. And I'm doing this mostly for students here in Three Hills who I knew would be at home, and other people who might be stuck. Basically, I thought this would be a great time to be able to work on some art. And for those of you who maybe have been wanting to start watercolor, or you've done some watercolor before and you'd like to start some now, I thought I would walk you guys through a few different processes and demos. I might do a few time lapses, all kind of depends. So I wanted to do this first one here. Basically, we're going to be doing this picture right here. It's a really simple picture of a boat, painting of a boat. So I would just walk you guys through the process of how to get to this process, what are some of the things that I do along the way, and yeah, basically a bit of like a virtual art class. So let's get started.
Alright, so I've already sketched up the picture here. I pretty much left it as is. You guys probably can't see the original. I'll just plop that down here for a sec. Okay, so here's the original. I got this off the internet, and basically it's free domain, so I'm able to show you guys. So I just really like the color of the blue, the sand, sky. I'm probably going to change the water up. I mean, this water is fairly, greeny, dark, I don't know. So I'll probably make it kind of pop a little more. And other than that, I just simplified the boat a little bit. I decided not to put in this tower or whatever it is. I'm not even sure if it's on the boat or if it's behind the boat. But I decided I didn't want that. And yeah, we'll add in some birds later. So to start off with, what I'll do is the sky. So what I always do, I've got my little palette here, and you can see I've got my old paint in there. I usually just leave it if I need like grays. That works perfectly for grays. Sometimes I'll reuse stuff in there, and then often I'll just wash. I actually don't need a very big spot on the actual tray, so I'll just use a tiny bit. So what I do is just give the colors a bit of a spray. The colors I'm mainly going to be using will be this sand color that I have. I forget what, buff titanium is what it's called. Ultramarine probably for the water. I'll probably end up using it for the sky. I'll probably use this cerulean blue chromium on the boat itself, and then yeah, a few different colors for kind of in and around. So to start off with, I'm actually just gonna clean off a spot on the palette. I'll keep that gray, but I'll just let it run down to the bottom in case I want it later. So I'll get some blue, ultramarine blue, and you want to keep it pretty light and watery, because on the sky you just want it to fade and be very light. And there's kind of two ways typically I'll do a sky. I'll do it the first way this time. So what I'll do is I'll basically just take just plain water, run it along the entire top part, everything up to the boat. You kind of have to work fairly quickly. You can see I used a pretty soft pencil, so when I'm touching that the boat, the pencil line is actually smudging, which is fine. That's partly why I use the soft pencil, is so that it basically dissolves into the water as I paint, but it'll look a little funny at the beginning. So I'll go right up to the ocean and just make sure that everything is covered in water. There isn't a spot that's dry. Up here I can see I missed a spot. And once the whole part is wet, I'll then go in and take some ultramarine. You can take it fairly like solid from the paint, and I'll just spread it all around and spread it down. And what that will do, it just makes it way softer than if I had just gone straight in and put it in to begin with. Okay, so that'll give us kind of a really nice soft sky. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with the water. I might just go ultramarine. I do have a little bit of Viridian, which, you know, I almost like. This is just a little, didn't have room in the palette, but it's Viridian green, and it kind of has this nice, like, you can make these teal greens with it. So I might actually use that. Just put that a little bit in the bottom here. And what I'm going to try to do is put my brush to the side, and by running across like that, I'm trying, oops, sorry I bumped you guys, trying to keep it so that it has basically a broken line. All of those, when it's a broken line like that, those spots where that are left white can end up looking a little bit like the waves. So just go like that. That side didn't end up with any waves. Oh well. Just gonna grab a cloth. It does help to have a cloth nearby. Sometimes I will clip it somewhere. Sometimes I actually have been using it less and less, so I just keep it nearby to kind of dab off the brush if I need. Fix up these edges here. So actually, before this dries too much, I think what I'll do is go in and do the sand, just so there's not a real hard line like on this side here between the water and the sand. So basically for the sand, what I try to do down on my bottom wells, so on the left I kind of will try to do the cooler colors, blues and stuff. It all depends on what I'm painting. And then on the right I'm try to keep a little bit of my warmer colors. So in this case I want to kind of separate the sandy warm sand colors from my blues in the water, so I'll end up putting this in here, and if a little bit of that orange or whatever ends up on the buff titanium, that's fine. So I'll start here just because this edge was the most recent. I don't want that to dry, and I think my plan will be basically I'll probably just put in a bunch of buff titanium because we can always go over it again later, but I'll also be putting in a little bit of, this is yellow ochre, just to it just will make the colors pop a little more, and it has a little more vibrancy to it. Yeah, just like that. And you can kind of see the yellow ochre, as long as you keep it light. Yellow ochre when it's dark can be fairly, I don't know, powerful. Oh, kind of a little like that, but it's all, again, it's all fairly wet, so it won't dry too weirdly. I'll just go right up there. Looks like a little hair came off the brush. Can just wait till that dries and pull it off later. So I just noticed the one spot that I missed, right up here above the boat. There is some ocean there that I did not get, so it's actually, you can't really see, but it is a little damp right under the sky, so I think I'll just go in there right now while it's still a little wet. And wow, that is powerful. And just stick that in. So I guess another decision that I need to make is whether I want those windows to just kind of show up black. In the picture you can kind of see the water through it. I might do that. I might just kind of do a very light mixture of a bit of a Viridian and the blue, and just put those in the windows. I don't know if that'll look any better than a kind of a darker black, but whatever. It's a little more like it is in reality. I might on this side just leave some white space just to pretend like there is a bit of it's a wave behind there. Okay, so I think I'll go in and do the boat now as the rest of this dries. So what I'll do, I'm gonna leave like a white stripe at the very top. So I'll probably put in the blue now. So I'm just using this cerulean blue chromium, and I'm gonna go pretty dark because I don't really want to touch it a whole lot. If I can just go over it once, that would be fine. Got a little bit of erasings there still. So that is fairly, it does look, it'll look a little darker right now, but it will dry lighter. I'm trying to keep that white line on the top fairly consistent all the way through. There we go. And down at the bottom, again, this is a decision that you'd have to make. So down at the bottom there's a dark color, and I kind of want this edge down here to be, I'd like it to be a soft edge and not a hard edge. And that's totally just a choice thing. In the picture it's a hard edge, but I like to put in soft edges occasionally where I can. So what I'll do is I'll just put in the dark, at least part of it. There's still going to be some for the shadow, but I'm going to put this dark in. And what this dark is just a mixture of ultramarine and burnt sienna. I'm just going to put that in, and what it'll do is bleed, oops, a little bit into the blue above. So what I'm going to do for that is burnt sienna. If I can, I try to keep the colors fairly similar in that I try not to go and use a whole bunch of colors that are all different. So my plan is to basically do that whole cabin, and then in the reference picture it kind of goes lighter on this right side and darker on the left side. So what I'll do as I paint in the brown will be I'm starting on the left side, so the pigment is going to be a little stronger, and then as I work my way, minus this stuff here that I'm doing, but as I work my way towards the right side of the cabin, my pigment will get a little less strong just because it's coming off of the brush, and I'll just let that happen. That'll be fine. So it'll get lighter to the right, and then what I'll probably end up doing is come back in here with that dark kind of like black color that I used down there at the bottom, and just darken up the right side of this cabin as well. You can kind of see I actually went a little further than I wanted to with, or a little less far than I wanted to with the water. I left the space where I shouldn't have, which is fine. I'm just gonna kind of extend the cabin a little bit more than I'd intended and bring that out with the brown. I'll go back and do the details later. But yeah, you can, well, I don't know if you can see that well on the camera. Left side is gonna be a little darker, right side a little lighter. Okay, I just stopped the video there for a second to basically just let it dry a little bit. So what I think I'll do now, the boat itself is still drying. I've also moved over to your left side. I think I'm gonna go back in and kind of darken up the sand a little. It is fairly light anyway in the picture, but what I just want to do is just add a little more. If I don't go back and add a little more, it can seem a little one-dimensional. So I'm just going to add a bit more color. So I'm basically just doing bits of buff titanium, yellow ochre, some dark, some light. Just want a mixture of both. I'm gonna try not to upset that little bit of white there that I have as a wave, because I like that. put some yellow ochre in here. Trying to just mix them both. And I've just left a few little broken lines, which is fine. Because otherwise that can just, I don't know, it can just be a little boring without any texture. And actually in the picture there's kind of a darker spot, like almost right there. I don't know, I might, well, I did it now, I guess, so. I might actually do that a little bit on the bottom as well. What I try to usually do with my paintings is to kind of go darker on the edges on the bottom, so that your subject is a little bit more in the light. Kind of draw the eye towards the actual subject. Okay, so I think I've done most of the stuff that requires the big brush, so I'm just going to switch to a little bit of a smaller brush to do some of the details on the boats. So I want to get these kind of these wood lines on the boat. So the first one, I think I went a little too dark actually. So I'm just going to put some water back into the mixture. First one kind of runs just underneath that white line. And then I've just got another one. Don't really care if I like them all to look somewhat uniform, but there. Then I'm just going to take a little bit of that mixture and just go right down here along that line. And then there is a spot up here where I'll go just follow along the brown. Okay, I think the brown now is pretty well dry enough that I can go in and darken up that left hand side. And I'll just go in on the left hand side and darken up this side of the cabin specifically. Now in the actual picture there is a bit of like a box here. I'm actually going to go around that and just leave this space. So what I'll do to kind of get it to fade, I now have this pretty dark pigment all on the left side. So what I'll do there is just go with water and then just kind of, I'll need a little more, I think. Just go over that area just so it blends. There's not a hard line between the dark and the light, but it's also going to darken up everything a little bit more. That box ended up not really showing very much, which is whatever. It is what it is, it's fine. Alright, I had to stop the video there because my phone was getting full, and I think I missed a couple of the details in the meantime as well that I put on. So we're getting close to the end here. Basically we've got the shadow and everything. I think what I'll do is probably add a little more texture down along the sand. I gotta get my picture going here. Looks like we've got a rope. There's a little rope to do here. Some birds. I might try to put some white in for some waves. So probably where I'll start would be to just go back and work on the sand a little bit and putting some texture in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab my big brush again, and this is just my other painting board. So I'm gonna grab my big brush and I'm gonna get a bunch of, I'll move this in so you can see that, bunch of buff titanium and yellow ochre, and kind of put a bunch of that in there, make it a really wet, goopy mixture. And I'm just gonna cover up the boat and then basically just do a whole bunch of different spatters. I might go a little bit, this is burnt umber, so it's just a little bit of a darker brown, just to give a little bit extra. And then I'm just gonna go a tiny bit of this gray actually. And go back to the yellow ochre once more. I like these marks here on this left hand side. There you go. Okay. I have beaten it enough. This, by the way, is just another painting board, which has my next painting yet to come. So while that dries, I will add on a few other little marks. Put that to the side. A few marks and just kind of go like that. Try to put some leading lines in towards the boat. Okay, I'm gonna put one way back here. It's not very dark. Here, yep. Okay. So I think I'll put in some of the birds. I'm just basically gonna use whatever is left here, this gray mixture. Perfect time to clean off some of that. That was a horrible bird, but that's okay. I have to say there's something about doing this on camera that makes it a little bit weirder. Try to do some low birds. So what I might do when I pull out the white is highlight a few of these just to make them look a little more like seagulls or something. Okay, I did say when we're doing lines, we do need to kind of put something. The shadow is probably a little darker than I would have liked, but I'm just gonna kind of go like that, put it through. You just kind of want something through that shadow. Okay, I'm doing a really dark mixture now for the rope that's going to be on off the front. So that's going to be like ultramarine, burnt sienna until we get to pretty much a black, and that'll just be coming off the front here. There we go. While I have that, I might just highlight a few other of these kind of details in here, there. Put a few lines there. Okay. I would say we are very close to being done. So, I get my white. This is the only color I don't have in Daniel Smith, so this is just a white tube. White, at least this white, is when you put it actually into watercolor, is extremely transparent, and so it almost defeats the purpose. So what I do is I just go right out of the tube and I'll get a little bit, and I think I'll start with some of the seagulls and just kind of, especially maybe these guys down on the water, put some white there, kind of do one wing so it looks like there's a little bit of shadow maybe on the other wing. I don't even know if that white will show up, but whatever, it's worth a try. So then I'm just going to add a little bit of white here, and it's just so, it's such a balance between, every once in a while what I will do is I'll put a little up here on this edge, just because I kind of need to get it flowing a little bit, but I also, as soon as I put water in it, it becomes not white. So you can see there it's just a gray, so that's not going to work. I'm going to have to go back, and it's just, when it's straight out of the tube it's hard to use, but if it's not straight out of the tube you can't see it. So that's kind of the hard part with the white. Do a little wave over here. Little breakers there. Whoopsie. Okay. Last thing I may do is just go back and add a little bit of this gray with this buff titanium here, and just kind of do a spot in back here. Well, probably too much there. I lost my cloth. And you know, actually I like that. I'm almost wondering whether I need some down here, but maybe I won't. So if I do, it'll affect some of those splatters. I'll just put that in there, maybe a little bit over here. Yeah, I might do a little bit of gray, buff titanium, and just kind of go down here, just basically to darken that edge of the painting. Like I said, I like to have the edges a little darker. I think what often it does is then just you end up with a little bit of a vignette look where it leads your eye in. I don't like that hard edge. Okay, I would say we are pretty much done. Trying to decide if I want to add in something that would look a little like writing. I might do that just up here. I'm just using some leftover, I don't even know what this is, leftover darks from the edges of my palette. Just putting in a little bit of squigglies. And the last thing, you know, there are some things up here in the picture. It's basically just like, looks like rails, but I don't know if I like that, but whatever. Put those in. It is a fairly simple picture, and so I think just to add in a few more details, might just go over some aspects of these windows. Don't want to outline them completely, but just add in a little something there. I might just hit that one spot. Perfect. I would say we are done. So what I'll do is I'll just mix up a little bit of this gray and call it good. Right in here.
And we are done. If you guys are interested in more videos like this, you can stay tuned to my channel. I'll probably be posting a few more demos and things like that. I might even be getting some feedback from you guys as to what you guys like. Might do some where I'm not talking, I'm just painting, or maybe some time lapses and things like that. But yeah, if you're interested, you can always subscribe or look me up on Instagram at Josh Wiley Paintings and Facebook as well. See you guys later.